Namaskar. Welcome to the Saraswati Sangam Project Scholar Talk series. Today we hear from TISP scholar Shreya. Welcome to the Saraswati Sangam Project Scholar Talk series. We are delighted to have Shreya, who has been a scholar with TISP since 2022, give a talk on a very interesting topic. So Shreya, let me turn it over to you.
Okay. Namaste, mentors and mentees. First of all, I'm grateful that I have got the opportunity to present a talk in today's discussion. The topic of my discussion today is about Chiranjeevis, the immortal beings who transcended the passage of time. Now, since the day I got to know about the Chiranjeevis, I was always fascinated. Why don't they live in the celestial abode like the Indralok, Brahmalok, as mentioned in the Puranas? And being immortals, they are actually living in the mortal realm where people like you and me live. Now, before coming to the realm of the immortals, where the Chiranjeevis belong actually, let's talk about the realm of the mortals where we live. Now, there is this one word that we always avoid discussing about, and that word is death, the inevitable one. We all know that one day we have to face this reality, and no matter how far we avoid it, but still, it is true that everyone who has been born in the mortal realm has to face it. But as mortals, we are bounded to this continuous cycle of birth and death. Now, if someone asks me that, then who is immortal? I would just simply say, of course, the gods that we worship. They are immortals. They are free from the bounds of birth and death. But we, as mortals, we know that we cannot escape the clutches of death. And no matter how much we try, time gets us. And in this reference, there is a story from the Vanaparva of Mahabharata, where there's a dialogue between Yaksha and Maharaj Yudhishthir. Now, this Yaksha is none other than Lord Yamraj, who is there in the disguise of a Yaksha, and he was actually examining the ability of Maharaj Yudhishthir, that whether he is a capable ruler or not. And in this series of questions, there is this one question that he asked Maharaj Yudhishthir, and that is, what is the most astonishing thing in the world? To which Maharaj Yudhishthir replies that at every moment, people are dying, and those who are alive are witnessing this phenomenon. And yet they do not think that one day they will also have to die. What can be more astonishing than this? Here, the thing I love about this answer is that Maharaj Yudhishthir has answered it in a very articulate way, and it is very to the point as well. Because what an irony it is. We always avoid talking about death, knowing that we cannot escape it. Someday we have to face it. Similarly, there is this verse from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 27, where Krishna is telling Arjuna that, hey Arjun, death is certain for one who has been born, and rebirth is inevitable for one who has died. Therefore, you should not lament over inevitable. But now someone might question me, okay, I know as a mortal, I cannot be immortal. But given that the medical sciences are improving, technology is advancing, at least I can live a long and healthy life by improving some lifestyle changes, or finding out other ways to live a long life. Here comes the concept of longevity for us, the mortals. Now, longevity means to live a long life. The fact of lasting a long life. In Hindi, if we could translate it, it is called Dirghayu, someone with a long life. Now, talking about the concept of longevity, there is this term related to longevity called the blue zones. Now, around the world, there are blue zones, and the speciality of these blue zones is that here the people who live in these blue zones, they tend to live a longer life than the average individuals around the world. Why is it so? Maybe the reasons can be different. The lifestyle that they live, the diet, the environment. There are a variety of reasons. Many researches have been done on this topic. Many books are also written on this topic. There is also a documentary on Netflix, I think, which revolves around this similar topic. And the blue zones are situated all around the world, whether it be Loma Linda in USA, Nicoya in Costa Rica, or Icaria in Greece, Sardinia in Italy, or Okinawa in Japan. Now, one thing I notice in this map that all the blue zones are outside Bharat. What about Bharat? Are there any such cases of people living long life, or the cases related to the concept of longevity in the land of Bharat? Then my answer is yes. And the very first example that clicks in my mind is the example of the yogis residing in the Himalayas. Yes, the yogis of Bharat. The yogis of Bharat are indeed a very fascinating case study when it comes to researches related to longevity. Researches have also been done on the yogis to examine that what are the reasons that they live a long life despite the conditions in which they live, which are very extreme, like the extreme cold of the Himalayas. The climate there is very tricky. You don't know, the next minute the climate could change. And many things have been observed in this. And researchers have been questioning that what is the secret behind the long life. Is it the environment, diet, or perhaps the disciplined life that they live with a regular practice of yoga sadhana? Now, I would like to make a small comparison here, comparing the people living in the blue zones and the yogis living in the extreme climate of the Himalayas, away from the materialistic world, performing their meditation and austerities. Now, the people living in the blue zones, they at least have access to the basic amenities that we require on a day-to-day basis in our daily lives. But what about yogis? They live far away from all the luxuries of life. Not luxuries, I would say, but the basic amenities of life. But still, they live a healthy life, and most of these yogis are also centenarians, but they appear as if they are in their late 80s or 90s. And it is indeed a very fascinating case in Bharat itself. Now, this is all about the mortal realm, the concept of longevity, how longevity helps us to live a long life, but for that we need to have some major lifestyle changes. But now coming to the main topic of the Chiranjeevis. Now, what does the word Chiranjeevi actually means? So in Sanskrit, the word Chiram means long and Jeev implies life. Unless we reach moksha, the cycle of birth and death will continue in this sansara. Since we are mortals, we live in the Mrityu Loka, in the mortal realm, we are bounded in the cycle of birth and death. And when we think of gods, our minds often conjure images of immortal beings residing in the celestial realms, as I talked before, like the realms mentioned in the Puranas, the Satyalok, Brahmalok, Indralok, and all the realms that are present in the 14 planetary systems, as mentioned. And rarely do we envision a god walking among us, especially in the modern era. And here comes the concept of Chiranjeevis. Like they are also God. They are not bounded to the cycle of birth and death like us, like the continuous repeated cycle of births and deaths. They are gods because they are immortals, but still they live in the mortal realm. So this is one of the distinct features of Chiranjeevis that really fascinates me about them. That being immortals, they live among the mortals in the land of the mortals. So, yet contrary to the common perception, there are deities who are believed to live among humans, that is in the mortal realm, and these extraordinary beings are known as Chiranjeevis. So in the Hindu scriptures, there are total 8 Chiranjeevis. They are Hanuman, Vibhishan, Kripacharya, Ashwathama, Markandeya, Parshuram, Mahavali, and Vedvyas. Now, a short introduction of all the 8 Chiranjeevis. Lord Hanuman, we all know. The best way to define him would be one of the greatest devotees of Sri Ram that the world remembers today. Vibhishan, he was the stepbrother of Ravan. Kripacharya, he was the guru of the Pandavas and the Kauravas before they went to Dronacharya for the further education. Ashwathama, he was the son of Dronacharya, the guru of the Kauravas and Pandavas in Mahabharata. And Sage Markandeya. Sage Markandeya's story is very famous because Lord Shiva himself, Sage Markandeya was a very devoted devotee of Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva himself came to save him from the clutches of death when Yamraj himself came to take the life of Sage Markandeya, because Sage Markandeya was Alpayushi. He was having a very short lifespan of 16 years. And when Lord Yama came to take him away, Lord Shiva, in the form of Kalantak Shiva, he saved Sage Markandeya from the clutches of death, and from then on, Rishi Markandeya became a Chiranjeevi. Then the next is Parshuram, the 6th incarnation of Lord Vishnu. Then we have King Mahabali, who is the grandson of Maharaj Prahlad, who was again a devotee of Lord Vishnu. And then we have Vedvyas, the composer of the Puranas and also of the great epic of Mahabharata from the land of Bharat. And now someone would ask, when will this Chiranjeevis be visible to us? So in the Kalki Purana, it is mentioned that at the end of the Kali Yuga, when Lord Kalki himself will re-establish Dharma, these Chiranjeevis, they will come out of their hiding and they will help Lord Kalki to re-establish Dharma and initiate the beginning of Satyuga. And not only this, but there are also many Puranas and many epics like the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, which mention the appearance of these Chiranjeevis in the form of different stories or incidents or anecdotes. And after all this explanation, there are still some people out there who would again question that how come you could believe that the Chiranjeevis are real? It could also be a myth, a fiction, or they cannot be real at all. So for them, I would just simply say at the conclusion that, okay, I know seeing the Chiranjeevis is beyond the ability of the normal human vision, because no matter how advanced a civilization we become, there are some things that are beyond the understanding of the capacity of our intellect. And doubts and questions like this should not stop us from learning about our Veds, Purans, scriptures, our culture, traditions, and most importantly, the values that they teach us. Because the values are the ones that keep us connected to our roots. And by saying so, I would like to conclude my presentation here. Once again, I am actually grateful to the TEST platform for providing me with the association of such wonderful mentors and also my fellow mentees. I have learned a lot of things through this platform, which I am very, very grateful for again. Dhanyavad. Thank you.
Excellent, Shreya. I'm very delighted, and the way you presented, of course, without slides, unfortunately. But I have to say, when you proposed that you will take this topic up, I was really very intrigued. Of course, because this is not something that we commonly talk about. And it's a concept that I think deserves very deep thought today, because we are developing so much understanding of the physical world at the nano, smaller than nano, quantum level, subatomic level. And then, of course, we are exploring the universe in the dark holes and the whatnot, dimensions. So understanding the universe is definitely moving along, but then the topic of what is physical and what is beyond physical, what is conscious and what is beyond conscious in a somewhat collective consciousness. So obviously the concept of Chiranjeevi is something we have not visited in a very long time, something it has not come into our thought frame in this exploratory view of the universe in a very focused way. And so I'm very glad that you brought it up. And I'm sure this process of bringing it up was initiation of your own thought process, which I want to strongly encourage you to continue growing, because it's a very beautiful topic by which to explore.
When I took the opportunity of presenting the talk, I was in the thought for 2 days that exactly what should I present, what topic should I choose. And I don't know how, but coincidentally, that day was the day of Hanuman Jayanti.
I see.
And I don't know how the thought came to me. I said, okay, Lord Hanuman has fascinated me for a long time. I mean, he is a Chiranjeevi, and in the Hanuman Chalisa also there is a line which mentions that how he rules the Char Yugas. And then that really struck me, okay, let us talk about Chiranjeevis. And that's how the idea came, and today here I am presenting about it in front of
lovely, very nice, very nice. And I'm really hopeful that you'll continue to explore the topic, because it is a very deep topic. And I just want to comment that two things actually. One, that death itself is a concept and reality that every living being experiences, that is very educational. And then this topic connects with death in a very, very deep way. So, of course, there's a whole Upanishad written on death, Kathopanishad, right? So, the concept of death is very deeply educational, and immortality or Chiranjeevi is really associated with that. And the other is what we think physical, biological, and the realm of biology and physical world versus when we go beyond physical, whether you would call it energy or consciousness, that is a boundary that's very little, very little understood, right? And so this concept of Chiranjeevi really goes into that boundary. What is death and what is beyond death? Who dies and who stays? And then in the collective consciousness, what is death experienced as in collective consciousness? Because we are not units of separate objects, entities. At the conscious level, at the subconscious level, or at the spirit level or soul level, whatever you call it, we are connected in some way. So I think that's why I'm saying for these thought processes, this topic of Chiranjeevi is very deep, very, very deep. And so you said there are 8, but maybe there are more. We just don't know about them, right? It's about collective consciousness. So in collective consciousness, what more exists that we don't know about? And we know about 8 that we recognize in different times of our history, but why would it not be before Ramayana, and why would it not be after the last Ved Vyas you mentioned? There are probably more Chiranjeevis that we just don't know. Right? And that is a beautiful realm to explore.
You did mention all the Chiranjeevis are gods because they're immortal. So are you drawing any distinction between immortals and gods, or do you believe they are the same?
A normal person, what is God? God basically, from I could say a normal person's point of view, gods are like the immortal beings for them, because they are not bounded in the cycle of birth and death, like us, like the mortal beings. But what I found distinctive about the Chiranjeevis, that see, they are not bounded by the cycle of birth and death, so they are immortal. Okay, a similar feature to gods. Now coming to gods, they don't live with us, they live in their celestial abodes, like the Brahmalok, Satyalok, as mentioned in the Puranas. There are 14 planetary systems, and in this planetary system, there are different realms. So the gods and the other celestial beings who are immortal, they live in that realms. But when it comes to
Can I
Chiranjeevis,
interrupt? Can I interrupt? Because let's not go too strict on Puranas and where gods live. This is why I mentioned we are talking about a universe that we are learning about. Let's be sincere to what we do know and what we don't know. So there is no other lok, so-called, where gods live. And this is really a shortcoming of English language. When we say God, we actually make a distinction between Paramatma and Dev. Right? So Dev is not God. So entities that are, whether they are energies that we name as this Dev or that Dev, they may not have had a physical existence at some point, like Lakshmi Devi. It's a concept, right? So it's a Devi of something, representing something that we revere, values we revere. So let's not confuse first Dev and God, because English is a deficient language. Dev and Paramatma are the two words we should use. And Dev is very technically defined. If you read Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad, it defines Dev and Danav very, very well. Right? So this is a problem when we talk about our concepts in English language. It just confuses us to craziness. So I would say the Chiranjeevis are Devs, very special beings who have actually had physical, biological existence at one point. They have some existence now. That is exactly the topic of investigation. And that was inviting Shreya you to dig deeper. Hanumanji, where and how does he exist today? Right? Definitely exists in a collective consciousness, but is that it, or is there more? So anyway, I wanted to say that because I think this is important to keep our discourse clear, because if our discourse is not clear, we will constantly be challenged by non-Sanatanis. Abhyuday, I hope that helped.
Yes, that definitely helps. I think just the language itself, as you said, English is a very deficient language, and like the distinctions that we have even with the teachers. What is a guru? What is an acharya? What is a shikshak? And that's so different. And here in English, we just have one word, teacher. So English is truly a deficient language, and I think it's really nice that we're just making it very clear out there of what we stand for.
Yes, and so that's why sometimes I really feel that we shouldn't even bother using English word for what we mean. Just use the Hindi word or Sanskrit word, because that will be at least sincere to what it's supposed to mean. And soon enough, that word will be adopted in English, right? Like guru is a word in English. You look up English dictionaries, guru is a word in there. It means something that we have to teach the world what it actually means. And then shikshak, then acharya, all these words will be adopted in English and hopefully make English more relevant to the future of the world. So let me wrap up with that, Shreya. Any last comment?
I'm actually very grateful for the 2 years that I got on the TISS platform with so many wonderful mentors and my fellow mentees. The presentations of the other mentees were just remarkable. I learned so many things from it as well. And while preparing this presentation, I was quite nervous that how people would, how the reception would be. But here I think the whole cohort is very encouraging. And every time in every discussion, I just learn something new and add it into my bag of experiences. So it was indeed a very wonderful experience of 2 years, memorable indeed. And I'm very grateful for that. Thank you.
Excellent. That's very sweet of you, Shreya. Of course, it's been wonderful having you on the group.